Good morning and welcome to GM Tips. This is GM Rick coming at you here, and you'll hear the inside out in the background with Mini GM. So one thing you guys get to hear is lots of little movies in the background. Unfortunate thing, but you know what? When you got a little one, you can't go in and close your door in the morning, especially when you're working from a home office. Doesn't work. Fiance's at work, can't do it. No matter how much you want to. But that's okay. I like having Minnie G around. She's a blast, and I remember having my two oldest around too, and it was great having them. I mean, when I had them around, and for the short time before, my daughter was fairly young. She was, I think, 7 or 8. And my son was 4 or 5 when the divorce went through. So it was it was tough, but I did enjoy the times before that, and I enjoyed my time with them. I really loved it and enjoyed it, and I still do when we get together. But that's not why we're talking on GM Tips this morning. First thing, I want to give a big shout out to Akeisha Roberts. She had done something really special the other day for me on Twitter. And if you haven't added Akeisha, then please do. It's Akeisha Roberts. And please add her to your list of gaming people. She did a tremendous job of taking the iconics that Pathfinder has, meshing it all together, and giving me backgrounds for my Twitter. Big props. Thank you, Akeisha. You gave me a baker's dozen, and I appreciate that. And it was a lot of fun to get those this morning on the email and just go, yay, I got new backgrounds I can put up. So big friend there, and I really appreciate her work and everything she does to make life a good thing. Big shout out to my fiance who always lets me record this craziness and be a GM, and I really appreciate that. I know some people say, well, she lets you. Yeah, when you get into a relationship, it's kind of a give-take thing. And, if you're both geek gamers, no big deal. If you're not both geek gamers but are geeks, a little more working out the logistics. So this morning, I wanted to really just talk a little bit about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and it's the joy of GMing. And I think sometimes as GMs or DMs, we have to remember, why do we do what we do? And I know a lot of times we think about it when we're happy, and then we have a lot of reasons. But when we experience burnout or player conflicts or a lot of conflicts with a party, it really takes away that joy of GMing and really just drags us down a path that is not creative, it's not fun, and we want to go play because we get burned out just like anybody else. And so I want to give you a couple things to think about and revitalize you, especially if you love GMing and it's something you want to do most of the time over playing. I really want to give you some reasons to, just out of my book, that are great reasons why we GM. I think number one reason is the creativity. We get to create a world or take a world that has been created and expand upon it. We get to flesh it out. We get to do the different things of bringing it to life. We can take a set campaign that already is fleshed out and bring it to life by somebody else, i.e. Midgard, Pathfinder, Faerun, Greyhawk, and Ghost Walk, and I could go through tons of them. Numenera. There are all kinds of different campaigns that we can do. Deadlands. Mutants and Masterminds, Gamma World. There are so many different worlds. Tortured Earth. There are so many different ones that we can do. OpenRPG has his own little world campaign stuff. Remember, there's a lot you can do with creativity. And that's one of the main reasons I think most of us do GM, is we love to create. We love to take and bring things to life. We love to flesh out backgrounds. We love to flesh out politics. We love to flesh out a region. We love to bring the NPCs to life and create them. We like running the framework around the characters. We enjoy just the whole creative process. And in saying that, that should be a major motivation why most people GM, is you love to create. You are a creative type. Whether you're an engineer, whether you are an artist, whether you're a writer, whether you're a poet, whether you're a teacher, whether you are a social working person that works in the social work industry, whether you're a psychologist, whether you are a accountant or a salesperson or a manager or or a marketing person, you love to create. Creating is part of our process, and it's a wonderful thing. And I think we got to sometimes just sit back and think of all the wonderful things we've created. If you get to that point of burnout, just take a moment, clear your mind, and think of all the really cool stuff you have done. Now, for the newer gamers or newer GMs and DMs, a little tougher to do because you haven't created as much yet. But think about all the created things that you've read or played before you GM'd. Think about all those things. Think about the books you've read and the movies you've watched and just the things that have inspired you to go create. We're watching the show Merlin the other day, and I don't know if you guys have watched the series that was from Sci-Fi called Merlin. Uh, my fiance really loves the show, got her into it. She is hooked. Totally, just like she was with Lord of the Rings, hooked. And there's so much creativity and vibrance. Yeah, okay, some of the stuff they do is a little hokey sometimes. Some of the stories, maybe a little not as interesting as the ones before. Oh, geez, Arthur is in trouble again. But there's a creativity, the dragon, the world, the wyverns, the what do they call them? The Dahul, the different things that they created. They had a manticore. So you got to see all these things come to life, and then you want to go do them as a GM and a DM. Those are the things that you got to just sometimes sit back and remember. If you're not remembering these things, if you're not seeing these things in your mind's eye, if you're not getting inspired to create more, then you've got to take that time to do that. The person I mentioned, Akeisha Roberts, she is so excited about the stuff she's creating for her players. She's running a campaign with Chaotic Anarchy, what is it? Toshu, I'm gonna Hagano. You're gonna get mad at me because I've mutilated your name. I am so sorry, my friend. With Tiny DM and with Chaotic Anarchy. I think those are the three right now. There was another one that was in there too at one time, which was a Happy Halfling. And she loved creating this veil and this world for these guys. And she just loves, I love that she just sits and spouts what she's doing with me, because then it gets my creative juices going. Then it's like, oh, that's really cool. Oh, wow, she's doing that? That's even more cool. And that's the kind of thing we get to do, folks. We get to create. We are the creators. That is an exciting thing. Outside of publishing your own material, that's the joy of GMing and DMing. We get to write it up. We get to have volumes and books. If you saw how many folders I have devoted to Pathfinder, you would just shake your head, because I've created my own sections, and I've expanded upon the works that Paizo has done, and they're great publishers that are there. So keep that in mind. You create, you bring to life, your words describe colorfully what the players are seeing. They get to build pictures in their mind and on the table from what you do and the things that you do. So never forget that the number one reason why a DM or GM should love what they do is creativity. Second is the helping your PCs to achieve their story dreams that they want to do. And really, I think we forget that sometimes as GMs and DMs. That's why we're there. We're helping players to achieve the creative dreams that they're looking for their characters. They want to create a certain type of character and see it come to life and see them become epic heroes or epic villains that they can look back on and really just love. I mean, that scoundrel, that rogue that really just made people chuckle, or the paladin that just stood there and took on the dragon and didn't die after hit and after hit. The war priest that inspires the charge to battle and the call to goodness. The cleric that converts the lost souls and helps them to really enjoy the favors of their god or goddess. The druid who who protects the earth and its areas from the taints and torments, or the one that taints and torments that area. The anti-paladin that causes everybody to just shudder and run in fear. See, these are the things we're helping our players to achieve. We're helping them to achieve their backstory, their goals, what they want to do and accomplish with their character. We're the ones that are the facilitators of this. Now, yeah, sometimes we have to curtail things and curb them a little bit and bring people back into the realm of somewhat reality. But at the same time, we're helping that situation to occur and we're bringing it to life. I remember seeing Will Wheaton with uh, the Ashes of Volcana, the whole series he did on that, and just watching him answer his players' background things. You could see even the people who were part of the campaign would get emotional because that's how emotionally invested they were in their characters. And you could see um, as he was going through and letting the campaign unwind, he was telling their stories at points. He was bringing them into the now. In some cases, he was filling them in on a story they had forgotten or they didn't even realize. And just, it was such an inspirational campaign to the players. And even to those who watched, even though it was 13 episodes, and yes, he didn't go back to it again, he had done something amazing there with that. With Matthew Mercer and Critical Role, what he does, those characters and those players are so beloved. You guys on Critical Role, you don't, I think you do realize now that the following you have brought to life for every gamer and geek in the world that it's okay and that we can live those dreams and adventures and we're not weird for doing it and that we have fun with it, and it is mainstream and it's becoming more mainstream and more popular, and it's become such a cool series that it's sucking people into D&D and into RPG, and that is such a cool thing. A lot of my friends on Twitter came from that Critical Role group and the Critters. Without them, I don't think I would have as many as I have right now. Now, yeah, the rest came from PFS, Pathfinder Society, and Pathfinder and some of the other things, but the coolness of that is just amazing. The Exploding Dice group that really does their playing out of the campaigns. Um, all the different GMs and DMs that podcast on Twitter or cast on Twitter, or the podcasters like Steel Empire and Basement Heroes and the Rollistas and some of the others there. You guys inspire by showing the players that you're there to help the players to reach their dreams. And as we watch that, as we become DMs and GMs, that's part of the reason why we're doing it. I don't think we think about it right away because we're thinking about the creative and we want to be the creative and create the world. But really, as time goes on and we get better at our craft, that's what we're doing. We're helping our players to explore their dreams, their goals, their fears, their challenges, and we're bringing it to life for our players. It's a major reason when you think about it of why we do what we do. And it should inspire you in the same way as the other ones do. This should inspire you to really think about, wow, how can I help my players achieve these stellar things that'll make them a memorable character that everybody remembers and talks about for a long time. I think the third thing that we got to remember as we're bringing different personalities together and helping them to work in a cohesive fashion, we are becoming the coach, the manager, the team leader that is bringing all these personalities together that normally might do this and getting them to do this. And that is such an amazing thing if you think about that. You are facilitating, and that's the third thing, a facilitator. You are facilitating not just the player's dreams like I was talking about earlier, but facilitating working parties. That's a tough thing to do. And like I was talking with the Amber Die group, and I really love them, by the way. Thank you so much to the Amber Die group for taking time to answer my questions on Facebook. You guys rock. I mean, look, there's a lot of people that say they're there for the people and the players, and yeah, at the cons they answer the questions, but the ones that just take time out of their busy schedule to answer and give some really thoughtful answers to them, hint, hint, hint to those of you that don't do that, that really says a lot. And I want to challenge some of you that are casting, that are big name groups, that do not take the time to answer fans' questions and fellow GMs and DMs questions. It's a shame. It really is that you don't. And that you don't take the time. I know it's busy. Look, I get it. I work every day, 50 plus hour weeks. In fact, I'm taking a little bit of time out of my work right now to cast this, which I'll work over through my lunch. But I'm doing this, and I do that all the time to make sure I'm answering the people's questions. I take time when I'm on Twitter, when I read another GM or DM asking advice, or when I'm in my Facebook groups and I see somebody asking advice, I try to, as much as possible, at least answer a good handful of them every day, because they're asking for help. They need you to facilitate them being better at their craft. But back to the thing there, one of the things that Amber Dye said to me, the group there, and I appreciate them doing it, was, Rick, we had to weed through players. Some of them were good friends, and we had to get rid of ones that didn't work. That no matter how much we tried to make it cohesively work, we had to know when to cut bait. And it's sad, because if you're that player that gets cut, you get angry, you get a little bit resentful. But you got to understand it from the GM's point of view when you're that player. The GM's looking to build a cohesion in that group out of a bunch of different personalities. It's like taking 6 different alignments and throwing them together and helping them to work. That's not easy. I mean, especially when the alignments oppose each other. It is not an easy thing. And I say that because I have had to let go of 3, 4 players. It was hard in my years to do that. I didn't like it. As a GM and a DM, it hurt me to let them go, because I felt like I was letting them down, that I couldn't make the group work. But at the same time, I had to say that player was disrupting the cohesion of that group, where the rest of them were starting to come together and gel in a good way like this. They were doing this still, and that's just not a good thing. And that's the other thing as a GM and DM, that even with the joy of creating that cohesion, there's the challenge, and this is what burns us out sometimes, I think, of taking that character or that player that drives you nuttier than a fruitcake. My favorite saying, nuttier than a fruitcake. And you just want to, throttle sometimes. And saying to them at some point, we're done. And that's hard, and it burns us out. And especially if it was a good friend that we really, outside the game, liked, and we knew was going to jeopardize our friendship by letting them go. That's hard. It's not easy. It drives you crazy. But it's a part of that joy of bringing that cohesion. I'm not saying to do it right away. Look, when I say I cut a player, I've given them months upon months and sessions upon sessions to come together. I don't do that lightly. I don't just say, okay, I've got a problem player. They're this type of personality and they drive me crazy. It is my job, and it is our job as GMs and DMs to work with all personality types. And I say all. We're meant to work with all. We don't, but we are meant to. And so if we're not doing that, you got to ask yourself why. Why am I not doing that? Why am I having this failure to like the old movie with Terry Bradshaw and the rest of them, failure to launch. Why am I having this failure to launch? I think Matthew McConaughey was in there. It's hilarious. But that whole failure to launch was just funny, because the parents felt like they failed to launch the child out. We feel like as GMs we fail that player. but we're there for them as much as we can be. And we need to try to be as much as possible, because if we're not doing those things to help that player, what are we doing? And so the biggest thing that I got to say is when you look at a failure to launch, don't let it drag you down. Remember all the cohesion that you're creating. Number 4, because it helps us to grow as a person. Look, think about it. As a GM, you grow in so many ways. A GM has to, number 1, be an extrovert. Now, not saying you have to be extrovert personality. We have introverts and extroverts GMing. And I mean that. And you know who they are. I mean, you can tell the personality type. Introvert, extrovert. Wonder which one you'd peg me for. Am I an introvert or an extrovert? Let you kind of chew on that one a little bit. You can answer that in when I post this up under the little threads that I post them in, whether you think I'm an introvert or an extrovert. And that's how I'll know you watched the video. Am I an introvert or extrovert? And which was I growing up? That's a good question. Was I an extrovert growing up, or was I an introvert? A couple of my friends could answer that for you. So introvert or extrovert? We have to be an extrovert anyways. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you automatically become an extrovert when you're a GM. You just do. And you may not be that way when you quit being a GM and go off and do your daily life. But during that GMing time and that DMing time, you are an extrovert. You are expressive. You are outgoing. You are talkative. You create. You tell these things. So that's development. That's personal development. Most of us would never choose to be an extrovert unless we already are. We just wouldn't. You also become an introvert because you have to read a lot and you have to prep a lot. And that takes introvert when nobody's around. And that's an introvert's type of thing. And you got to get not burned out doing that and still be inspired. That's the introvert. So you become a dichotomy. You're an introvert and an extrovert. You have to become a thinker. And you have to be a emoter. You have to be a person that comes up with new and fresh ideas. So a creator in that sense, a true artist. So even if you aren't an artist now, you're becoming an artist in doing it. You're drawing maps, you're becoming an artist. And you're drawing them on engineering paper, so you're an engineer. You see where I'm going with this? You do all these things, and you get to develop in all these ways. Why wouldn't you? Why would you not want to do that? It is such an amazing thing, and not everybody can be a GM. And why I say that is, yes, everybody technically can, but many fail because they just don't have these motivations behind them to excel them to another level. You are a unique thing as a GM and a DM. Never forget that. You are all these things, and it's such a cool thing that you can do this. There are many people in the world that don't game that could never do the things you do. They couldn't. They're either too insecure or doubting in themselves. And it's sad because I truly believe anybody can do anything. I truly believe that. Deep down, I believe that any human being on the face of this earth can do whatever they set their mind to. I don't care if you've got anxieties, fears, doubts, physical challenges, mental challenges. I truly believe if you set your mind and your course that you will succeed at what you want to do, you will do it. Just that sheer motivation and bottomless energy that keeps propelling you forward. That's what it is. Look at the great Winston Churchill. A lot of people quote him, but think about one of the things about Winston Churchill that was truly amazing. And also about Abraham Lincoln and many others. They failed many times before they succeeded. Many times. And that's something that you got to think about when you're going at it, is that, am I going to be the Winston Churchill? Am I going to be the Abraham Lincoln? Am I going to be the Shelley who wrote Frankenstein? Am I going to be the writer and creators that have made the amazing books? Am I going to be an inventor like Stephen Hawking? Am I going to be that person? Or am I going to be the person that throws up their hands after a failure or two and say, I can't do this? You will fail so many times in your life. You will. Look me in the eyes right now. You will fail. Okay? It is a fact of life. You will fail in school. You will fail in work. You will fail in personal relationships. You will fail at many things. And you're all going, great, Rick, thanks. Now I'm inspired. Hear me out. But through those failures, you will learn to succeed. One must fail in order to succeed. When you have failed a few times, you begin to figure out what you're doing wrong. And you begin to change the mindset. And you shift your, and I'm going to go to a Stephen Covey term, paradigm of how you look at life. And the paradigm is how you view life as a whole, including the values and everything else you put into it. You will shift your paradigm to come up with a way to succeed. Winston Churchill succeeded. Abraham Lincoln succeeded, even though he was assassinated. John F. Kennedy succeeded. Teddy Roosevelt succeeded, even though he was an imperialist. Many people in this world have succeeded, and it came with failure. As a GM and a DM, you're going to fail. Okay, you're going to run campaigns that people are going to go, oh my Lord, I can't believe this person's DMing. They will say it. Not to your face, but they will say it. You will see it on their faces, and you will know that you have just totally whiffed on this one. And it's okay. Because if you don't fail, you're not going to succeed. Ask the great GMs. Ask guys like, Will Wheaton, Matthew Mercer, ask Ren. I could go down a litany of GMs and DMs if you'd like. If they succeeded or failed. And how many times. Ask Gorbad off of How We Roll. Ask DM Dystress off there, who's also DM'd. And ask these people how many campaigns they have totally failed at. They'll tell you. If they're honest, they'll tell you quite a few. And it happens. And people roll their eyes. I guarantee you, even though they had fun, Chester, Tricia, and some of the people who grew up with me and John, who had me DM for them, first edition, second edition, I promise you that they rolled their eyes at times at me DMing. And there were times they loved it, and there were times they went, oh Lord, what is Rick doing? and it's okay, because I learned. I started out in my preteens, and I ended out now of still playing. And it took that many years to get me to where I am now. And I'm not even there yet. I've got so far to go in my DMing and GMing. It isn't even funny. But it's taken that many years. And believe me, I failed many times. I promise you. I failed players. I failed myself. I failed the game. I failed the creators of the game. It happens. And if you're not ready and prepared to fail, then you won't succeed. You just won't. And it's okay to make mistakes, guys. It's okay to fail in life. It's okay. We all do. And so many people say, oh, you're a failure. No, you're not. You're a failure when you quit on yourself, and you quit permanently. Not just quit one time. We all quit a few times on ourselves. I'm talking about that last time that you say, I just give up on everything, and just totally do give up. That's when you fail. When you quit wanting to live, when you quit wanting to deal with life, that's when you fail. It's not easy, folks. It's not easy GMing. It's not easy DMing. It's not easy doing the things we do. And again, I wasn't trying to make this a live discussion, but GMing, DMing kind of revolves around that sometimes. of how we live our lives. But remember this, you will succeed in such epic ways. You will have those campaigns you look back at and go, holy crap, how did I do that? And that was so much fun. And I just want to do it again. And you will. And you'll find ways to get to another level that you haven't. And you'll have another epic one that you thought, wow, I thought I topped that one. And I did top that one. And that's what's going to happen when you don't quit. So I hope this helps you out. I think, creative, wanting to help your players, inspirational stuff. There's a blonde shock of hair. I'll be there in a second, okay? And then also just keep going, because you know what? It's going to give you great growth and development. All right. So, guys, I'm going to finish out. Mini GM needs me. You guys have a great morning, and we'll talk to you again